Hello everybody, this is Gregory with 5-Minute Catholic Apologetics and Living, where 5 minutes of your time may get you to the divine. Today we're going to talk about marriage being a cross. Now before we begin, let's start with a prayer. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritui Sancti, Amen. Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto, secutor in principio et nunc et semper, et in saecula saeculorum. Amen. Really quickly, if you want to get a shirt that says the Catholic Church established in 33 AD, there is a link in the episode notes. And also, I have a permanent weight loss channel as well. I lost over 100 pounds and I've kept it off for 30 plus years. And I have about 300 episodes over there if you want to check it out on YouTube. So what do I mean by marriage is a cross? Look, we have a playlist here on Catholic dating and Catholic marriage, and no one can deny that both are under attack. And I think if you look at previous generations, maybe your parents, your grandparents, and more often than not, they were married until they died. If you look at the 1950s and 60s, when somebody was divorced, it was like they talked about under hushed tones. Like you knew maybe one couple that was divorced. And now, of course, the divorce rate is rampant, and it's rampant among Catholics. It's equal to that of Protestants and secularists. And I think the mindset of marriage is so thrown off now. We have this Victorian mindset of marriage that emanated out of the Victorian era about 150 years ago, that you love for romance. You marry for romance, that your love is based on the pitter-patter of the heart and sexual eroticism and all these things. The problem, of course, is those things are going to abate. And when they abate, then you're like, well, I'm no longer in love with you. Instead of looking at the traditional view of marriage, which was always based on the propagation and education of children, and for the extension of property rights and the extension of familial rituals and customs and so forth like that. It wasn't for the loins burning. And the main thing was for the propagation and education of children. And we talk about this in the episode about how you can have homosexual union. But either way, marriage is a cross. So what does that mean? It means that marriage is hard. Look, my parents were married till my father died of an aneurysm at 40, after 43 years. I was married and I am divorced and annulled, and that was not my choice. Not the annulment, but the divorce was not my choice. And actually we talked about statistically how women initiate divorce 70% of the time of all divorces, and 90% when they're college educated. But I think one of the reasons why divorce is so rampant is that we just don't see how marriage is difficult. And on one level, it's meant to be difficult. And that's why I use the term marriage is a cross. So when you get married, it's like, oh, you found your cross. Because marriage can bring immense joy. I think I talked about on the episode here on the book of Sirach, one of the deuterocanonical books, how Sirach has a lot of stuff on marriage. And one section in Sirach talks about how having a great wife is such a blessing, and having a wretched wife is such a curse. And it's true, right? Who you marry is so important. That's why we have episodes here on red flags that you must know before while you're vetting someone for marriage and before you marry them, is that there's a lot of red flags that you have to discern. But either way, even if you pick somebody that ends up having maybe not as ideal, because I would tell you, excessive expectations is the biggest destroyers of marriage. We project what we want the other person to be, not who they really are. Either way, once you've made that vow in front of God, that sacramental bond, that's it. Now, the cynic would be like, well, we can get annulments. And unfortunately, in the post-Vatican II church, annulment rates are about 70%, no doubt. But that's not the mindset we should really have. The mindset we should have is that marriage is what we make it. Marriage sometimes can be a cross. And I think this goes close to the Catholic understanding of redemptive suffering. See, the Protestants don't really have this understanding, and certainly the atheists don't. But anytime we suffer, whether it be in marriage or with physical pain or psychological pain, or you lose a job or whatever it is, we offer it up. We offer it up to Christ so we can be closer to the suffering that he did for us on the cross. This is why we have crucifixes everywhere, to remind us of that. So when we say that now you found your cross, is that marriage can have immense blessings. Absolutely. Children, seeing them grow up, having somebody in your life, the thicker or thin, better or worse, that you'll share these memories with, somebody that's going to help you. Ideally, these are all the ideals. somebody that's going to help you get into heaven and push you to have a stronger faith and all these things. But marriage can be suffering too. You might be dealing with addictions or chronic physical, psychological pain or fighting, or your values change, or they leave the faith, or you leave the faith, whatever it is. And at that time, we have to remember that marriage is going to have ups and downs, vicissitudes, the fancy word. And you might go through 6 months, you might go through a year where you might not like this person, and heaven forbid, you might not even love this person anymore. You might love them, but you might not be in love with them. And today we have so much feedback from television, from movies, from social media. Oh, girl, you got to do what you got to do. Girlfriend's got to divorce. You're not feeling it here. Oh, he's controlling because he doesn't want you to stay out till 3 a.m. You leave him. Oh, he's not as ambitious. You leave him. Or with the men. Oh, she's not putting out as much, or she's gained some weight, or she nags you. You leave her. Like, we're all getting the little demons on our shoulder. Leave. We forget that marriage is a cross. And so when you're suffering in a relationship, when you're suffering in marriage, offer it up for the souls in purgatory. You're offering it up. Your suffering can help get a soul from purgatory into heaven. And also gets us closer to the suffering of Christ. And Christ says, we will take up our crosses. Christ didn't tell the apostles, you know what? All you guys are going to have great, swell lives. No. A lot of the apostles we talked about this thought, well, this is the Messiah. We're going to end up riding in camels and being wealthy when he eventually establishes his earthly temporal kingdom in Jerusalem. Yeah, they learned very quickly, no, all of them suffered immensely, but now they have eternal glory in heaven. And with marriage, it's the same mindset. And if you marry somebody, or let's say you're vetting somebody for marriage, and they don't have this mindset that marriage is perpetual, and there's going to be lulls, and there's going to be times where you don't like this person, then I would not marry this person. And also understand, like, one of the grounds for annulment, like the reason why we have annulments, and we have episodes here on why we have annulment, but the obvious ones are like forced, a shotgun wedding, you didn't give consent. Another one is if the person you marry does not believe in the inviolability of the vow. In other words, they told you beforehand, I will marry you, but if you fill in the blank, I will divorce you. Like, I'm sorry about the blinds here. If you cheat on me, or if you hit me, I will divorce you. That marriage is invalid immediately, because that person did not believe and did not have a Catholic understanding on the inviolability of marriage. But either way, marriage is a cross. Find the right person if you want to marry. Remember, there's only really 2 vocations. The single life is not a vocation. There's only 2 vocations. So do your best to find a spouse. And even if the times are bad, remember, Christ said we're going to take up our cross, so we take up our cross. And at the end, those who persevere to the end will be saved. Jesus talks about it 3 times in the Gospels. So when you pass away, you will be rewarded for taking up your cross if you were in a bad marriage, like St. Rita of Cascia. Guys, post in the comments again. Sorry about the blinding light coming in. Until next time, take care. God bless and pray.